We Live in Time was directed by John Crowley, who brought you a smaller film called Brooklyn, which came out about 10 years ago, something like that. I remember Brooklyn mainly because it was the Oscar bait movie when I worked at the movie theater as my first job. And this stars Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh in what I think may be some of the best chemistry that I've ever seen out of a couple on screen. Like, I may be jumping the gun when I say that, but oh my god. Now, on the surface level, this plot might seem pretty mundane. It basically follows the relationship of a couple, played by Garfield and Florence Pugh, over the course of a decade. And one thing to note about this movie, without giving too much away, this movie is presented in a non-linear form. And it's just kind of showing you the ups and the downs of their relationship, the problems that they're having, the triumphs that both of them are achieving, the support that they have for each other, the love that they have for each other. And for another project from A24, like, it just feels to me like every year for the past couple years or so, A24 has been putting together some Oscar contenders and heavyweights. 2 years ago was Everything Everywhere All at Once, which ended up winning Best Picture at the Oscars. Last year was The Iron Claw, which egregiously was not nominated for any Academy Awards. And I'm here to tell you right now that if We Live in Time is not nominated for some sort of awards at the Oscars next year, I will be flabbergasted and maybe even done with the Academy. We Live in Time is transfixing. And it's not necessarily because of the great direction from John Crowley. It's not just because of the insane chemistry that our two main actors actually have. But it honestly doesn't really feel like you're watching a movie here. We Live in Time feels like you're watching real life, man. And I don't want to get too personal or anything like that, but there's a few things that I see on screen honestly kind of reminds me of me and Lindsay. Just in terms of the conversations that they're having, like, it's super relatable, especially if you're in a relationship. And I feel like this is the perfect encapsulation of a relationship, especially if you're around the Gen Z age. Because the script by Nick Payne is so freaking well realized. The dialogue in here all feels so natural. And this screenplay has a little bit of everything for you. It's got the comedy, it's got the dramatic, heartfelt moments, it's got the tear-jerking sequences. And man, it's got some bodily sequences. The birthing scene in this movie is... the birthing scene. Yeah, that's certainly some chaos I am never going to forget, and some that I never hope to experience in my real life. But not to give too much away, but that scene specifically and how everything comes together, I couldn't help but tear up. Especially at the ending result and how elated our leading actors were at the result. Let's talk a little bit about our leading actors here, because their chemistry is absolutely dynamite. It really does feel like they've been dating for over a decade themselves, even though I know that's not the case. Andrew Garfield, especially over the last 5 years or so, he's really turned into a powerhouse actor. I mean, I feel like he's always been that way ever since I saw him as Peter Parker in those 2 Spider-Man movies. And then later on when I went and saw The Social Network, I knew that this guy was something special. And I don't know if I would put this performance over Tick, Tick, Boom, which came out not too long ago when he played Jonathan Larson. But this one is certainly up there, and it's certainly Oscar-worthy once again. As is Florence Pugh as well. Her whole story is so freaking tragic in this movie. And her expressions and the eye movements and just all the inflections in the dialogue. Florence Pugh hits all the right notes, and she is so real in this. And I think that's the highest compliment that I can give an actor. As long as I've been doing this, like, I feel like the best performances I've seen since I started YouTubing, they've been the most real performances. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, for that matter, are all up there. And their relationship, again, just hits all the right notes here. They will make you laugh in a certain sequence involving parallel parking. They will make you just aww at the sweetness of what's going on. And there are times where this movie will absolutely frustrate you as a viewer. But I think that's the magic of a movie like We Live in Time, where it hits all the right emotions and it has a little bit of everything. That's why I can't really pin down a genre. I know for sure that this is going to be a romance movie for sure. But there's a lot of comedic elements in here. There's a lot of dramatic elements in here. And I think no matter what your favorite movies of all time are, I think no matter what movies you like to watch on a regular basis, no matter what genre you like, if you turn on We Live in Time, you're going to find something to enjoy. Now, I will say that the main knock on We Live in Time, if I'm really knocking anything right now, is the non-linear narrative. I don't think it was edited as crisply as I would have liked. especially as you go through the first maybe 2/3 of this movie. Once the real bomb under the tea table goes off, and then once you realize what's actually happening under the surface, like, I understand, like, on a surface level why this movie was told this way, but I feel like especially on first viewing, people might be a little bit confused as to the layout of this. But then again, not saying that this movie's going down this path already. I mean, it just came out yesterday. But Pulp Fiction is also told in a non-linear way. I haven't reviewed that movie yet. I'm a little bit late on that, and it's coming, I promise. But let's just say this. I think that Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece. And again, way too damn early to say that We Live in Time is a masterpiece right now. It's only a day old. Anybody who's calling it a masterpiece needs to calm the down. Aside from the confusing nature of a first viewing in a non-linear story, it's like, okay, where in the timeline are we? And then once you hear some of the dialogue, you're like, oh, okay, now we know where we are. It's one of those movies where you really have to pay attention to the dialogue. This movie doesn't really cheat that much. This movie really trusts its audience and their intelligence. And I think especially director John Crowley, writer Nick Payne, stars Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, A24, everybody who is involved with this project should be proud. Because even though it's a movie that is very real and the ending feels very bittersweet without going into too much detail, this is one of those reasons why I feel like you should love going to the movie theater. Because I definitely would like to watch this movie again, and I want to watch it over and over again, and I want to show this to more people. Because I feel like the more I look back on this thing, there's going to be a new sense of discovery, and I'm going to see something new every single time. That's why I'm not as bothered as much by the non-linear ending, because I know for certain that there's a reason why they did it this way. And again, I said I understand why it was done this way, but I know there's also some creative reason why they did it like this. And I feel like this revelation is bound to come with more viewings. But for first viewing, absolutely go to the movie theater to support this movie. Go support A24, go support Garfield, go support Pugh. Because with how much passion and energy they're putting into this, every single one of these artists deserves it. I'm going to give We Live in Time an A. The only thing that's holding it back for me right now is the confusing nature of the nonlinear narrative at this point, but everything else, like, wow. Let me know what you thought of We Live in Time. Have you seen it yet? Did this video convince you to go and see it? Let me know all that and much more down in the comments, guys. I love interacting with you on a regular basis, and it feels so great to be back. I feel so alive in front of this camera, let me tell you that much. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Tap on that thumbs up. This channel is on the road to 2,000 subscribers. And getting close to the end of the year, yeah, you're going to see a more abridged version of the Halloween playlist. I'm going to be putting those videos out periodically up through the end of the month, maybe even going into the first weekend of November. And as we wrap up 2024, going into 2025, my content and how I release my content is actually going to be undergoing some big changes. And I can't wait to reveal to you what those are. Guys, thank you again so much for your support. And with all that being said, Back Talk commence.